If we go back to the halcyon days, right, the early Yeltsin administration, the Clinton people definitely came into office, and they believed and they hoped that Russia would become a democratic, Western-leaning country. And they did everything they could to promote this. And the Clinton people talked to people who spoke the same language as them in the beginning. Gaidar, Chubais, Kozyrev, remember him? The westward-leaning, short-lived, if you like, foreign minister. Well, no, he made it till 1996. But the problem was very soon in Russia, the people, the officials who really resented dealing with the United States from a position of weakness came into power, had more influence, and of course Kozyrev, as we know, was replaced by Primakov. But that was a very short-lived moment, I would say, when it looked as if Russia was going to be, more westward-leaning in its foreign policy. And so we've had all these discussions of honeymoons. There was a honeymoon in the Clinton-Yeltsin relationship, which probably ended by the time we got involved in Bosnia, certainly. There was a shorter honeymoon post 9/11 Bush-Putin that ended with the Iraq War. No one's really talked about a honeymoon since Obama came into office, and again, maybe that's better. But again, we have these cycles, these ups and downs that seem to repeat themselves. Now, how much of this is a product of Russia's domestic system? It clearly is partly a product of the domestic system. It's played a role, but I have to remind you that relations under Yeltsin were pretty difficult too. And they became difficult, and if you read certainly President Clinton's memoirs about this, and if you also look at the way that Yeltsin himself characterized Clinton, there's a great difference. I mean, Clinton is much more generous in what he says about Yeltsin than vice versa. But I think one of the problems since the Yeltsin era has been that Russia occupies a much smaller place, a less important place in U.S. foreign policy priorities than the U.S. does in Russian foreign policy priorities. We loom very large still for the Russians, and I think this is a fact, again, that it's very hard for them to understand.